Good morning, Veritas All-Stars. This is the lesson for Thursday, April 16th, 2020. We have one problem with parts A and parts B to solve. I wrote you a little hint here, so I'll tell you about that when we get there. All right, but let's get right into it. I hope you have already tried this. If you haven't tried it, pause it, do it now. It's listed under your assignments in Google Classroom for Thursday, April 16th. So first I gave you a picture of a barbell because I'm talking about a barbell. So a barbell is something that you lift in the gym. You put weights on this side and you put weights on this side. So let's use that to help us with this problem. Mr. Spracklin's barbell weighs 45 pounds. He added a 45-pound weight to each side of the barbell. Then he put two 25-pound weights on each side of the barbell. Part A, what's the total weight in pounds that Mr. Spracklin lifted? So I got to find out total weight in pounds. So right now, before I even do anything, I'm going to write pounds right there, just to make sure that I use the right unit, pounds. Okay? And part B says there are 2.2 pounds in 1 kilogram, which is kg for short. How many kilograms did he lift? So we need our answer for part A to see how many pounds there are, and then if there are 2.2 pounds in 1 kilogram, then how many kilograms did I lift? All right, so let's go back to it and annotate for the second time through. It says Mr. Spracklin's barbell weighs 45 pounds. So this barbell weighs 45 pounds without any weight on it. Okay? So the barbell is 45 pounds. I drew a barbell here. Okay? He added a 45-pound weight to each side of the barbell. So 45 pounds to each side of the barbell. So let's do that. We're going to add 45 pounds to this side. And we're going to add 45 pounds to this side. Then he put two 25-pound weights on each side of the barbell. So this is where you may have gotten tricked up. Two 25-pound weights on each side. So two on the left side and two on the right side. Two 25-pound weights on each side. You really have to read carefully. So we're going to put two 25-pound weights. Let's see, two 25-pound weights. We'll just kind of draw them like this. 25, 25. And we'll put two 25s on this side. 25, 25. What's the total weight in pounds that Mr. Spracklin lifted? So I got my barbell that weighs 45 pounds. Then I got a 45-pound on each side, and I have two 25 pounds on each side. Don't forget about two being on each side, which really means we have 4 of them. So now I read through that again to make sure I didn't miss anything. What's the total weight in pounds? So I have my 45-pound bar. The barbell. Then I added 45 and 45 on each side. So 45 on each side. Then I did 25, 25, 25, 25. So I could just do 25 times 4, which is 100. I could add 25 plus 25 plus 25 plus 25. Or I can just add 100. Because 25, 50, 75, 100. So now we have the bar, the two 45-pound weights, one on each side, and then we have the 4 total 25-pound weighters, because weights, there's 2 on this side and 2 on this side, so that makes 100. Okay, so we're going to add up all the ones, 15. We're going to add up all the 10s, 13 of them, carry the 1, and then we have 2 hundreds. So all together, I lifted 235 pounds. Okay? So that's the answer. 235 pounds is how much I lifted. Got my 45-pound barbell, 45-pound weight to each side, and then two 25-pound weights on each side, which makes 4 of those 25-pound weights. So that is where the 25-pound weights went right there. And our answer was 235 pounds. So if you got that right, give yourself some snaps. Most likely if you didn't get that right, you messed up on the addition of 2 25 pounds on each side, which really makes 100 pounds. All right, so a total of 235 pounds. Getting strong. And here comes B. So I'm gonna give myself some space. There's part A, and now we'll do part B. Keep my work nice and organized over here. Okay, so it says there are 2.2 pounds in 1 kilogram. So 1 kilogram equals 2.2 pounds. Okay, 2.2 pounds, 1 kilogram. Perfect. How many kilograms did he lift? So like I did with the pounds earlier, I'm gonna write kilogram right here. Or kilograms. How many kilograms did I lift? Let's see. So I gave you a hint over here. I said hint. It's easy to choose the incorrect operation on this one, so check. Is the number of kilograms smaller than the number of pounds from part A? And what I meant by this, part A, I lifted 235 pounds. Okay? So we got to think about the difference between kilograms and pounds. We need to decide which one is bigger. Is a kilogram bigger if you had one of them, or is a pound bigger if you had one of them? So since 1 kilogram is 2.2 pounds, right? If I drew a model of a kilogram, here's a kilogram. Inside of that is more than 2 pounds. So pound, a pound, pound, and then that would be like 0.2 of a pound. Okay, so this shows you that a kilogram is bigger than a pound, because 1 pound would be just this much, because there's 2.2 pounds in a kilogram. So a pound is smaller than a kilogram. So it's a smaller unit. And a kilogram is a bigger unit. Okay? So looking here, kilogram, the whole thing, is bigger than just a pound. Okay? And we know that because one of these, there's 2.2 pounds to make 1 kilogram. So the first thing I got to think about when I'm looking at these units are that kilograms are bigger units, so you're going to need less of them to equal. If this is a smaller unit, you're going to need more of them to be equal, because it says that these are equal here. Right? So this is correct. This makes sense that a bigger unit's going to have a smaller number, and a smaller unit's going to have a bigger number in order for those to be equal. That's pretty important for what I'm talking about with this. Okay? So we have 235 pounds. We got to figure out how many kilograms. So how many kilograms equals 235 pounds? And we don't know. We got to figure that out. Okay? So what you're going to do is, you're probably deciding, what do I do with this 235? Do I multiply that by 2.2 pounds in each kilogram? Or do I divide that by 2.2 pounds in each kilogram? You are trying to choose, that's what I meant here, is it's hard to choose it's easy, sorry, to choose the incorrect operation. It's hard to know, do I divide or do I multiply? Because it's pretty tricky to think about, right? You know that you're either going to multiply to get the number of pounds to kilograms, or you're going to divide. So what you need to do is really just think about this part that I talked about with the units. If you multiply 235 times 2, it's going to get bigger. So if we go from pounds to kilograms, and if we multiply that by 2.2, it's going to be bigger. It's going to be, well, 235 times 2 is like 470, right? So if that was correct, if it was more than 470, that would mean that the kilograms are bigger. But the bigger unit needs to have a smaller number of them. So if you multiplied and you got a big number, you're going to realize that, oops, kilograms are bigger, so that number should be smaller. So now I'm going to say, okay, I'm not supposed to multiply by 2.2. I'm actually supposed to divide by 2.2. That way the number of kilograms, since the kilograms are bigger units, you should have a smaller number of them than the number of pounds. So I'm going to flip over to the back. 235 pounds divided by 2.2 pounds per kilogram. So we're going to do 235 divided by 2.2. And we did this yesterday in yesterday's All-Star problem. We did some division by a decimal, so this is pretty tricky. You've only learned this yesterday. So the decimal point in 235 would be right there after the ones place. There's 5 ones. So since we have a decimal here, we're going to turn both of these into a whole number. We're going to make this a whole number If we multiply both of these times the same number, then the division is going to be equal to as if we did this. So what we're going to do is we're going to multiply this times 10. The divisor is now 22. We multiplied 2.2 times 10 to make that a whole number that we are dividing by, the divisor. Now the dividend, the number we were dividing, we also have to multiply that times 10. Okay? So now we have 2,350 because we had to multiply 235 times 10. Okay? Let's see. Let me try to give an example of how this works. If we had 14 divided by 2, the answer is 7. But if we had 20, if we multiplied that times 10, if we multiplied this times 10, 20 goes into 140 7 times, because 20 times 7 is 140. So we still get 7 as an answer, whether it's 14 divided by 2 or if it's 140 divided by 20, because we multiplied both of these by 10. So we end up with the same answer when we go to divide. So we can use that to help us with this. Instead of making this really hard and dividing by 2.2, we can multiply that times 10 and make it 22, and we can multiply that times 10 and make it 2,350, and then our answer is going to be the same, just like it was when we did it with that simpler example. Okay, so 22 does not go into 2, so basically this is 2,000. If I took 2,000 and put it into 22 groups, I couldn't put any into groups. I only have 2,000s. I can't put them into 22 separate groups, right? So I can't put any of those, I can't put 1,000 in any of those groups. I can put 0,000s in any of those groups. Now we have 2,300 or 2,300s. So if I had 2,300s and I put them into 22 groups, I could put 100 in each group. Multiply 1 times 22, subtract is 1. But just like if we were doing 2,300s into 22 groups, you could put 100 in each group, and then there's going to be a remainder of 100. And since this is a 1 in the hundreds place, that's all we're doing here, is we're saying, yeah, we can put 100 into each group, and then we'll have 100 left. So now we're going to look at it as 15 tens. We'll bring down the next digit. So 15 tens, we can't divide 15 tens into 22 equal groups. So we'll put a 0 here. We're not going to put any 10s into each group because we don't have 22 tens. We only have 15 tens. So we still have 15, and we'll bring down this 0. You could go through the steps. 0 times 22 is 0. Subtract, but you're still going to have 15 tens. And you bring this all the way down, and now it's 150. So if we had 150 of something and we were putting it into 22 groups, we could put how many into each group? So let's see, 22, I know that 20 times 7 maybe. Let's try 22 times 7. I'm going to just kind of guess and check. There's 154. So we don't have 154, we only have 150. So you can't put 7 in each group, you got to put 6 in each group. So 22 times 6 is 132. So 6 times 22 is 132. When we subtract, we have 18. Right, you could borrow. You have 18. Okay. We should continue because we can turn this into a decimal answer to be more accurate because it's 106, and now we could turn that into 106 in 18/22 and then simplify that. But since we're working here, we can just continue this as a decimal. You put the decimal here where it is, 2,350, and we're going to keep the decimal there. Now we can just add a 0 because there's 0/10ths in this number. It's still 2,350. We're just trying to have a little bit more of an accurate answer with our remainder. So we'll now bring down this 0. Whoops. There it is. Now it's 180 divided by 22, so we know it was at least 7. Let's try 8. That's 176. Yep, so we have enough. We can put an 8 there. 8 times 22 is 176. When we subtract, we have 4 left. And let's go one more place so that way we're to the hundredths place, and then we'll stop there if it's not exactly going to the hundredths. So 22 goes into 40 one time. 1 times 22 is 22. So 40 minus 22 is again 18. So now we're at a point where if we bring down another 0, we'll be at 180, and we're going to keep repeating 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, right? So this is a good enough spot for us to answer it. It's 106.81 kilograms. If you put 106.8, that's good. We're just trying to be as accurate as we can. If you put 106 in 18/20 seconds, that's great, because that would have showed that you knew how to use this remainder of 18 before we continued into the 10th place. You could have used that remainder of 18 and then the divisor of 22, and we could have divided those to simplify. 106 and 9/11ths, that would be a good answer as well. Okay, so it's a little bit more than 106 kilograms. And let's just check, right? Remember what we were saying earlier. Kilograms are a bigger unit, so we need to have a smaller number of them. So if we had 235 pounds, 106 kilograms is smaller number of kilograms. So, right, we're saying that 235 pounds equals 106 kilograms. So like I was saying, kilograms are a bigger unit than pounds are, so we're going to need a smaller number of a bigger unit and a bigger number of a smaller unit. So that checks out. 106 is smaller than 235. So that is at least a reasonable answer. So that was our challenge for today, guys. Part B was really, really hard. So give yourself some snaps. We've definitely never learned how to do that. If you got number 1 wrong, then you just didn't read carefully enough, and you gotta slow down, and you gotta read it a little more carefully. That should have been pretty easy, and I know at least 1 or 2 kids who sent it to me had it wrong. They had 185. You forgot to put 25 pounds on each side. Okay, so you got to be careful. That should have been pretty easy. So be careful with that. This was really challenging, so good job if you even attempted that one. All right, and that's it. Have a great day, All-Stars. We'll see you tomorrow.